Welcome to one more session. Now today we do have a question. It says draw flowchart that prints, that means that outputs, that displays largest out of or maximum, largest or maximum out of the three user defined values. Now we need to have three values from the user. So if we need to have three values from the user, that means we need to have three variables, three different variables. Okay, now one more thing. This program could be done with the selection part as well as with the looping part. So right now I'm doing this task with the selection part. Okay, so for the selection part I need to have three different variables. So I just took over here num1, num2, num3. That means I do have three types of the three variables, not sorry types, three variables over here, and these are the user defined, so I cannot set a base value for this thing. Now it says input, that means we need to have the input now. So input num1, num2, num3. Now just assume we do have three things right over here with us. For example, we do have one cell phone, we do have this pen, and we do have this another pen. Now I'm sorry. Okay, so now we need to check it out that I'm so sorry about that thing. Okay, so we need to check. I can just flip the phone. So we need to check it out. Which one is the most heavy stuff, or which one is having the most weight? This one, two, or the third one? So how are we gonna check it out? So we are gonna check it out. First of all, I'm gonna compare this one with this one. So is this pen, this ballpoint, is it heavier than? Is it having more weight than the second stuff? No, it's not. Okay. So, and is this stuff having more weight than the third one? Yeah, it is having more weight. Okay. Now for the second condition. The second condition says, is part 2 having more weight than part 1? Yes, it is having. As well as, is it having more weight than part 3? Yes, it is. So that means this one is the heaviest, or this means this one was the largest part. So in this manner, we need to compare each and every stuff with the other two stuffs as well. So how are we going to do that? It says if num1, that means the first variable, is that greater than num2, and that means as well as. And now this and over here is known as the logical operator. It is known as the logical operator. So is this and, sorry, the and num1 is also greater than num3. That means the first variable is greater than num2, as well as the first variable is greater than num3 as well. So if it is greater than num2 and it is greater than num3, if it is greater than both of them, so that means we need to output that num1 is the largest, that means num1 is the greatest. If it is so, that means num1 is output, and finally we are coming to the end. But if it's not, then we need to check it out for the similar manner. We need to check it out for the second variable. So is the second variable greater than the first variable, as we just did it now, as well as is the second variable greater than the third variable? So if it is so, that means the second variable is output. In our case it was the one, and finally we come to an end. But if neither the first variable is the greatest, neither the second variable is the greatest, so it's quite understood that the third variable is the greatest. So we will just be simply having an output num3 for the third one. We do not need to place the conditions. That means we are simply going to output that stuff. So we will be first checking with the first for the first condition, for the first variable, sorry. Then we will be checking for the second variable. If neither the first variable is the highest, neither the second variable is the highest, that means the third variable will be the highest. It's quite understood right over here. Now coming towards the pseudocode for this one, how we are gonna solve this out in the pseudocode format. So let me just check it out. Okay, right over here. We are over here. So it says write a program that prints largest out of the three user input values. So we need to declare num1, num2, num3. All of them will be having an integer data type, and we do not need to initialize any of the thing. Why we do not need to initialize any of the thing? Just because of the reason they are user defined. Then it says output, enter the value for num1 enter the value for num2 and num3. So that will be a prompt statement that will be printed on your screen. Now you said input num1 comma. So the first value that you're going to input will be going into the variable for num1. Then the second will be into num2 and third will be to the num3. If you change the placement of the num1, num2 and num3, that means like for example num2 is at the first and num1 is at the second. So that means the first value that you're going to input will be going into the variable of num2. Make sure for this thing so you can't actually swap the values. Okay. So how I'm gonna put the conditions as I've placed in the flowchart, how I'm gonna put the similar conditions over here. If num1 greater than num2 and num1 greater than num3, I need to place the brackets over here if I'm gonna do it for the O levels. If I'm gonna do that for the AS level, so I do not need to have the brackets for this thing. Okay, now it's a single statement, so it says simply output num1 is the largest. I do not need to place then, but if you are placing up a then as well, so that's of no harm. There is no issue in placing then as well. Okay, so if it is so, then obviously this output statement is going to execute that says num1 is the largest. Else if, now we do have multiple conditions, else if we will be checking for the second num2 is the largest. So need if in the case neither this one is fulfilled, neither this one is fulfilled, then which one will be fulfilled? So obviously else. So else, as I told you earlier as well, that else do not have the statement with that, because if this isn't the case, if this isn't the case as well, so obviously this one will be the case that num3 will be the largest. And if for this one else if, and the second and if for this one if. So this is how we find the largest of the three user input values using the selection method. Now in the next video we will be doing with the largest with the help of the looping structure. Thank you so much guys.